Hi, I'm PH, and welcome to Good Bible Knowledge with PhD. In this set of videos, I want to provide answers to common questions about the Bible in a fun and creative way. I hope these videos will be helpful for your own spiritual journey in Jesus. Let's get started. Is sin really that bad? As we look at the sons of King David, we learn an important lesson about the lingering consequences of sin and unforgiveness. King David was a good king, the chosen one of God. Yet despite his good spiritual qualities, David allowed temptation to take over his life, which led not only to an act of adultery, but to deception and ultimately to murder. When David was finally confronted by the prophet Nathan, he confessed his sin and was forgiven. But God did not take away the full consequences of David's sin. David had a second son with Bathsheba, Solomon, as well as 3 additional children from his other wives, Amnon, Absalom, and Tamar. When they were grown, Amnon became deeply attracted to his half-sister Tamar. And one day Amnon faked an illness in order to assault Tamar. When Absalom heard this, he kept it to heart and waited for an opportunity to take revenge. 2 years later, during a holy celebration, Absalom killed his brother Amnon and fled to the territory of Geshur, where he remained for 3 years. The sins of his 2 sons brought great grief to King David, and David remained bitter against his son Absalom and refused to grant forgiveness for what he had done. This deeply grieved the heart of God. In response to his father's bitterness, Absalom eventually set himself against his own father and made his own plans to take the kingdom by force. Day after day, Absalom stood outside the gates of Jerusalem and continued to make promises that if he were king, he would bring justice. And in this, Absalom began to steal the hearts of the people of Israel. After gaining enough support, apart from God's blessing, Absalom declared himself king and entered the city of Jerusalem, forcing David to flee for his life. Sometime later, the armies of David met the armies of Absalom in battle. And as David's army gained victory, Absalom himself tried to flee the battle on a mule. But while fleeing, his hair was caught in the branches of a large oak tree, and Absalom was eventually killed by David's men. Though he gained the victory and entered Jerusalem as the triumphant king, David was forever distraught at the loss of his 2 sons, who themselves were overcome by temptation and unforgiveness. In this tragic episode of the Bible, we see the many dark manifestations of sin: lust, hatred, revenge, violence, bitterness, and the destruction of family bonds. We also see the devastating consequences of sin upon the life of one who is so beloved of God. This story of the sons of David remains a sober warning of the true nature of sin, that it only leads to pain, to sorrow, and the destruction of all things good in this world. The Bible reminds us of the good news in Jesus, that through faith we are delivered from the bondage and the ultimate punishment of sin. It also warns us regarding the importance of seeking to walk in the light of Jesus all the days of our life. Thanks for listening to another episode of Good Bible Knowledge. We'll see you next time.